our supine series. Have a seat at the base of the OOV. Have the weights ready or the band, just like I have it. And then just laying back down, kind of finding that good position on the OOV. So starting with the test, where you're lifting one leg up and it's not pulling on the neck. So you feel pretty connected. There is absolutely no pressure into the neck. Now just kind of settling, just giving yourself a minute to settle down. I like to put my hands on the ribs. And as we're starting to breathe, taking a breath in, notice the ribs expansion outward. And then as you exhale, starting to pull ribs down gently. Notice that there is any tension in the neck, relaxing the upper shoulders. It's hard to breathe through the neck when your pelvis is higher than your heart. So this is a great way to activate that diaphragmatic breath. Take one more breath in. And then as you exhale, connecting the rib cage towards the pelvis. Now from here, we're gonna grab the weights if you're on the ball or nothing at all. But if you have the band, this is kind of a cool way to also challenge the body. So you're gonna grab the band between the thumb and the index finger. So kind of like in between those two. Start with a little bit of tension. And then as you exhale, reaching arms overhead. This could also be the weights. Now, as we're holding our arms overhead, let's check in with spinning those biceps in. So as the biceps are in, your arms are externally rotated, so the pinkies are towards the ceiling. Now allow your shoulder blades to move down. Sort of think about hugging them around the OOV, the pointy part. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale as you bend the elbows and come back. So we're going to keep going. Inhale, arms reach up. If you have the weights, you can do the exact same thing. And then exhale, bring them back. So it's sort of an overhead reach. Now checking in with the neck, bringing chin down. So nice long neck. Inhale over. Exhale back. 3 more here. And 2. And last one, arms reach all the way overhead. Hold them up there. And then let's start circling arms out to the side. So we're going to come back to a T and stay there at the T. So there's some tension on the band, or if you have the weights, you have a lot of work through the front of the shoulders, through the back. Let's hold it there. Think of reaching outward, not in the chin, creating length in the back of the neck. Pulling ribs down. We're going to bring one arm up towards, pointing towards the ceiling, and then back out to the side. And then bring the other arm up and back out. Let's keep going in this sequence. Just breathing through it. Focus on pelvic stability.
Oh my God, my cat just bit through my band. Okay, I'm going on mute.
What happened? What happened?
My cat just bit my band and broke it.
Oh my God. The cat wants to participate. The cat wants to OOV this morning. Lost one side to side. And coming back. Let's bring both arms all the way up. So still keeping that tension with the band. Now we're gonna start slowly floating our right leg up into the tabletop. Finding this strength within this posture. So what the band does, it helps us connect more into the serratus anterior muscle. It's the muscle that glides our shoulder blades on the ribs. So kind of finding, you're gonna probably move quite a bit, or maybe you feel pretty stable here. But find that connection of the serratus anterior with the lower abdominal wall. And then lowering that leg down. Now let's slowly bring the other leg up. Breathe in. Exhale, lower back down. Let's do 2 more side to side, working through that hip hinge. And lower. And bringing the other leg up. And lower. Last one, side to side. Lower. Final one. And lower back down. Let's allow our arms to go down. Elbows will stay down on the floor. So we're just going to hold our hands down. Let's bring one leg up into tabletop and then the other. So abdominals stay connected, bias towards imprinted spine. Legs are parallel together. We're going to start with little heel taps. One heel lowers and lifts. Inhale, we'll lower the other side. Exhale up. And let's keep going. Inhale down. Exhale up. And down. Keep going. And lift. Good. If you have any kind of clicking through this motion, last one side to side, try to bring the hip a little bit out to the side and see if you can find a range where that clicking disappears. Clicking is usually iliopsoas muscle dysfunction. It's either too short or too long. But when you find the position where the hip does not click, that's the way to strengthen it. And then slowly move from there until the click goes away. Excellent. Let's bring both legs straight up to the ceiling. Reaching up, tailbone is nice and heavy. Arms are by your side, pressing down onto the floor. We're going to one leg lower down as the other leg lifts up. And we're going to add a little scissors. 1, 2. Inhale, legs up. Exhale, 1, 2. Inhale, center. And center. Trying to find that active hamstring lengthening. And center. Hopefully, you're feeling, a difference in your body doing these OOV classes once a week, just on a daily basis, and hopefully you feel some soreness in a good way afterwards. Last one, side to side. And come back in. Last thing we're going to do here is let one leg go out to the side a little bit and then bring it back to the midline. And then the other leg opens out to the side and comes back to the midline. It's not going to be very far because of the weight of the leg. And you're definitely going to use your elbows to counterbalance. But just kind of play around and see how low can you bring that leg into horizontal abduction without losing your control on the OOV. Tailbone still stays on the OOV. And come back in. Good. Let's bend both knees, lower them down, and we're going to come off the OOV. We're going to go into the bridge series here. So take the OOV, and don't need the band for this one. But if you have it, actually grab it. So the band or the weights, it's going to go into the arms though. The OOV will go horizontal and the feet will go on the big fat part. Doesn't matter which edge the pointy part goes to. Yeah, right through here. So Lisa, when you do this, think about a little bit of the hip where you're feeling maybe some discomfort, because you might feel it through here. But we're gonna start with our feet on the OOV, and first just kind of rock the foot OOV back and forth. Ankle dorsiflexion and plantarflexion. Just finding that ankle movement. The entire foot is in contact with the surface of the OOV, and we're just moving it through this sagittal plane motion. Back and forth. And then finding about halfway through, if you have the band or the weights, the arms are gonna reach up towards the ceiling. And we're just gonna hold the band for just an added shoulder girdle connection. So if it's the band, you're gonna pull it apart and then bring it in. So find a good tension. And if you have the weights, you're just gonna hold arms straight up, or with nothing, arms just reaching straight up. Breathe in to prepare. Exhale, let's hip roll through the imprint. Roll your tailbone all the way up towards the ceiling. Let's pause here for a second. Now, with the OOV, hamstring should work a lot more just because of the unstable surface. You're focusing on keeping feet down on the OOV, pulling heels in towards you, and most importantly, not letting upper body move up. So if your upper body is starting to scoot out, that means you're pushing away from it, and you're gonna be pulling your heels towards the sit bones. At the top, let the band pull apart. If you have the band with the weights, you're just gonna move arms out and bring them in 3 times. This helps connect to the whole backside of the body. So we're working the entire sling of our backside, the back, the glutes, the hamstrings, and bring it in. And then slowly roll down with control from the upper spine through the tailbone and the sacrum. Inhale here. Exhale. Imprint with abdominals. Press into the OOV and roll up. And then arms move out for 3 and 2. Shoulders away from ears. And 1. Soften the sternum and slowly move down. Breathe in to prepare. Exhale, abdominals, tilt the pelvis back first, then the glutes, start peeling the tailbone off all the way into the nice long spine up at the top here. 3 arms, and 2, and 3. And then rolling back down. Excellent. Now the next 3 is going to be something different. Instead of rolling up, I want you to hinge up. So find your neutral, breathe in, exhale, press into the OOV, hips lift up as a unit. Holding that lift, arms are going to reach overhead 3 times. So if you have the band, you keep in tension there. 1, and 2, and 3, keeping the ribs down. And then lower the tailbone all the way down. 2 more just like that. So the goal of this exercise, exhale, hinge up, is a hip hinge, and then keeping your ribs pulled towards the pelvis as arms reach overhead. Our lats, if they don't have the length, they will affect our spine, so they will kind of hyperextend if they're really tight and short. So you want to keep that ribs connected as you reach overhead. Good, and then tailbone will lower back down. Last one here, breathe in, exhale, lift up, and arms move overhead for 3, and 2, and 1. And the tailbone lowers all the way down. Well done, we have 3 more left, last ones. Breathe in. Exhale, we lift up again as a hinge, lots of glute work, lots of hamstring work. So this could also be a femoral or just the floor. I didn't say that, my apologies, Lisa. And then holding it here, the feet will move forward and back 3 times. So now we're working through our ankles. Rocking the OOV back and forth. If it's the femoral, this would be the femoral. Or if it's the floor, you're just holding this position. And then the hips lower all the way down. 2 more. Exhale, lift up, hold. Arms are reaching up. And 2. And 3. And lower back down. Final round. Exhale up. Hold the glute connection, ribs pulled in, and working through the ankles. Feeling a lot of hamstrings, inner thighs. And 3. And lower all the way down. Drop the band. Let's pull both knees towards the chest. Give them a little hug. And then slowly come back up. And we're going to go into the roll down series. So the roll downs, we're going to use the OOV. We're going to sit in this saddle. Exactly. So you're kind of starting sitting in the saddle. Now, if you have a ball, yoga block, or a band, we're going to use it because it's good to have that hip connection when something gives information here. So if it's the band, you're pressing out. If it's the ball, you're pushing in. Just kind of choose what you want, really, what's accessible. There's no wrong option. Here, we're going to start with the knees bent first. Arms are reaching forward. First, let's plug our shoulders in. We're going to start with half rollbacks. So that's our lumbar spine mobility. Breathe in. As you exhale, allow your spine to melt into the OOV. Just until you feel that upper back touch. Hold it here for a second. And then peel back up into the seated posture. Let's do about 5 of these total. Exhale, half roll back. Now working on the sequencing. So it's the glutes, tipping your pelvis back, and then abdominals kind of pressing into that lower lumbar. Now let's hold it there for a second. Bring ribs down slightly just to increase that C curve. And then come back up. 3 more. Go at your own pace. Exhale, half roll back. Inhale, stay and hold. And exhale, come back up. And half roll back. Excellent. Hold. And rolling back up. Last 2. Rolling back. Stay. And roll up. And last one here. This last one, we're going to keep going all the way down and just keep going into the extension of thoracic spine. Arms reach over, everything reach over. Big extension through the chest. Stay here for a second. Take a breath in. Kind of allow your spine to relax, to melt into the OOV. And then as we're coming back, arms will lift first, then nod the chin, lift the head, peel the spine off the OOV, all the way back into that seated posture. Legs will straighten now. Pull your toes up towards you. Those hamstrings that we just worked earlier, I want you to hinge forward. So not round forward, but hinge forward towards the toes. So that active hamstring lengthening. You have the the band or the ball, that's great. And then come back up into the upright spine and full roll down. Exhale, start rolling down. Inhale, reach overhead. Exhale, arms reach up first. Nod the chin, lift the head, pull your ribs in. Heel up into neutral and then hinge from the hips, feeling the length in the hamstrings. 3 more times here. Inhale up, neutral spine. Exhale, roll down. The heels will move with you. The legs will kind of go back a little bit. Arms reach overhead. Now I'm gonna start circling the arms out to the side. Nod the chin, lift the head. Heel on up. Breathe in and exhale. Rolling down. Arms go out to the side now as we circle them up and over. Just integrating the shoulder range of motion into the full spinal extension. Arms will lift up towards the ceiling, nod the chin, and peel back up. And last one here. Arms open out to the side. And move overhead. Lift arms up. This is our final roll up and roll all the way up. Well done. Let's get rid of the band. And we're gonna go into the prone series or on the stomach work. So if you have balance sit, better way to do it with the balance sit. Kind of felt really good. So the hip bones will go on the upper part of the balance sit. With the OOV, however, we're gonna keep the OOV with the round side up. And so the bigger part of the OOV is gonna go against the chest, and the small part will kind of go between the legs. So I'm gonna show both sides. So if you're on the OOV, you're gonna start with your chest over the bigger part. Legs will be kind of a little bit wider than hip width apart, arms reaching forward. And just breathe in here. With the balance sit, there's nothing across the chest, and the pelvic bones, ASIs, will go on each side of the balance sit. And then we're still breathing forward here. So we're gonna start with this prone breath. The goal is to feel the breath going into the back of the ribs. So you're really trying to increase mobility through this back side, through the mid back, by taking a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, noticing how the ribs pull down slightly. Now we're gonna activate the glutes. Pubic bone, press it down into the balance sit or the OOV. Hips are slightly externally rotated. Creates that forced closure through a side joint and really supports it. We're gonna start lifting our upper body up into the swan dive. So inhale as we lift up here. Now let's stay here for a second. With the balance sit, this is a great way to get into the extension of the spine without excessive load in the lower lumbar and the side joint. Nice long neck. And then exhale as we flex forward. Let's do 4 more of these. Inhale, arms are sliding down, shoulders are sliding back, chin tuck, nice long neck, find that extension of the spine. Glutes are active, legs are straight. And exhale, dive back forward. Inhale up. Focus on the nice chin tuck. So the length of the spine, the upper cervical, is what starts the movement. And then coming back down. 2 more. Inhale up. Shoulders back. See if you can create a little bit more of extension, as long as it feels good. You want to visualize your spine as the bow shaped. So it has that sequential extension, vertebrae by vertebrae, stacked up over each other. And coming forward. And last one here. That's why it's great to use these props like OOV and balance sit as opposed to the floor. Because if you're stuck in certain segments, you can't really get up there from the floor. You're going to kind of hinge back. So you might not want to go all the way up. It might be the hardest kind of halfway in between. And then that's okay, just stay there. And then exhale as you go all the way forward. Now, stay where you are. I'm just gonna switch to the balance sit here, just so that you can see. So from here, we're gonna lift up into the long line where we're supported on the OOV or balance sit. So the chest is up. We're gonna bring our hands one over the other, kind of in front. So the forearms, we're sort of in front supported. Chin tuck, ribs are pulled in. Just find that good position of the pelvis where you can rock it side to side, or if you're on the OOV, it's the same thing. We're gonna go into leg lifts. Starting with the glute, I want you to activate the glute, float that leg up, and then lower back down. Starting with the glute, float the other leg up, and then lower back down. Keep going, side to side. The hip can be slightly externally rotated, and it can go slightly out to the side. The focus is pelvic stability. So notice if you're rocking to one side or the other, and try to move slow enough so you can control that rocking motion. 2 more, side to side. You don't want to feel this in the lower back. You really want to feel this in hip extenders, the glute and then the hamstring. Last one here. And then relax everything all the way down. We have one more exercise here. Arms lengthen all the way. Now keeping arms straight, we're gonna lift up into the long line. Now arms are reaching forward and straight. Thumbs are up. So we're gonna externally rotate through the shoulders here. Let's plug the shoulder blades a little bit back if they creeped up towards the ears. Let's go into the swimming where opposite arm, opposite leg float off the floor. Just a couple of inches. You want to find balance there. And then lower back down. Inhale, we'll switch to the other side. Exhale, lower back down. Keep going, alternating side to side. Keeping thumb up. That's the important part as you reach up towards the ceiling. It connects better into the rotator cuff of the shoulder so that when you lift, you can get into that lower trapezius. You can really stabilize that shoulder blade in upward rotation. Gonna work through that whole back line on the diagonal from the glute to the opposite shoulder. Last one, side to side. And lift. And lower. Let's press up slowly and just go into the shell stretch. Round the back, arms reach forward. Now stay here in the shell stretch if your knees allow, if it feels okay. We're gonna do a little bit more shoulder activation here. So the back is rounded. You really kind of flexed into a ball here. Palms are down on the floor. Head is down. Try to connect into that right shoulder and lift that right arm off the floor. However high you're able to. And then lower back down. And then switch to the other side, lifting that arm off the floor. And lower back down. So let's go side to side, working in that really tough overhead position of the shoulder. Now, if this is too much on your shoulder, just stay here. And think about pressing palms into the floor and pulling shoulder blade kind of down a little bit and in towards the spine. But if you're able to lift, good, last one, side to side. And lower back down. We're gonna come up into the hands and knees from here. No equipment necessary for now. Start by opening the palms, firmly pressing into the floor. Knees are right underneath the hips, nice and parallel. Let's start with scapular retraction and protraction. Shoulder blades move in towards the spine, and then they move away from the spine. So we're squeezing them towards each other, and then we're pushing them away from each other. Chin stays tucked. This is work of serratus anterior that allows our shoulder blades to glide. We should have full range of motion here. If you feel a little bit stuck or restricted one side and the other, great way to work on it. Now we're gonna pause about halfway in between. So not at the extremes of each other, but sort of halfway in. Then I want you to spin your biceps, your elbows inward to a little bit. This is gonna kind of tug that shoulder blade, find that really good stable position. Activate the lat a little bit more. Palms are pressing into the floor. We're gonna breathe in here and find our nice long neck position. Slowly start shifting the weight onto the right hip and start lifting your left leg off the floor and lifting it up. So no equipment, we're just in this quadruped posture, holding it, keeping spine neutral. Flex the foot, heel is reaching away, nice and long. The top of the head is reaching away nice and long. Now let's start peeling off opposite arm off the floor, just so slightly. We're just kind of testing this posture. It's good to test it on the floor without equipment and just to kind of see where you're at. And then reach the arm forward with thumb up towards the ceiling. And we're just holding it. Focusing on spinal stability, pelvic stability. From here, we're going to start moving leg out to the side and arm out to the side like an airplane. And then coming back in. We're going to do 5 total. Inhale out. Exhale in. Inhale out. And exhale in. 2 more. And last one here. Lower the arm down, lower the knee down. And we're going to switch to the other side. So the other leg starts floating off. Ankle flexes, you reach in long through the heel, lifting that leg up. Connecting into the glute. So see if your hip kind of opened. You want to make sure that you push that hip down, but then pull your abdominals in. So there's absolute no pressure in the lower back here. Once you find your balance, start lifting the opposite arm off the floor. Maybe it's just barely lifted and elbows bent, and maybe this is enough. Stay here. Or reach that arm up with thumb up towards the ceiling. Breathing through it, finding balance here, allowing all the little muscles to turn on. And then we're going to start doing airplane. Rotational control. Arm moves out to the side, hip moves out to the side, arm moves in, hip moves in. Going for 5 at your own pace. Breathing through it. Exhale. Inhale out. Exhale in. And out. And come back in. Good. 2 more. And last one. Come back in. Lower the arm down. Lower the hip down. Well done. Let's sit back towards the shelf stretch. Allow the lumbar spine to relax. Take a breath in there. Last breath. We're going to come back up and we're going to go into the sideline series. So if you're with the OOV, we're going to start by laying down lengthwise on the OOV. So without the OOV, this could just be flat on the floor with the ball underneath the ribs. So with the OOV, have a seat in the saddle, and then the side of the spine will just line up with the seam. And if it's the ball is just going to go underneath the ribs. So what we're trying to create here is this side bend position from the spine. So you may move up, move down, depending on the length of your torso. But as you're in this sideline position, you feel the middle of the ribs. Yep, Lisa, that looks great with the ball. So we're going to start with breathing. When you take a breath in, you're going to focus on pushing down into the ball of the OOV, and that will inadvertently kind of lift the ribs up to the ceiling. So you want to create that lateral expansion here. Heel will stay heavy, foot is flexed, arm is over. So check in with that lat again through that arm. Kind of maybe bring that shoulder a little bit. It's going to want to really collapse into the ear, but bring the shoulder blade back slightly and then still reach through the arm, but focus on the length through the lat. This kind of an armpit area tends to get real, what we call it's a sticky trizone because of the fascial connections that come here from the lat, teres major, and the tricep. So they're all sort of intertwined here. So if you have any shoulder issues, impingement, any kind of pain, frequently that area plays a part in it because it pulls the humeral head kind of sort of the downward and it doesn't allow it to migrate up and back. So we're going to focus on lengthening through there. One more breath in. Now as we exhale, let's start lifting that arm up, turning palm towards the screen. The bottom palm will stay down on the floor. And then we're going to lift our upper body up. So just sliding up. Definitely using the hand on the floor to help. And then exhale as we go back down. We'll do 3 more of those. Inhale, arm lifts up. Exhale, sliding up. Focusing on pulling ribs towards the hips. So that's the obliques, the QL. And then lower back down. And again, inhale up. Exhale down. Last 2. Maybe bring yourself slightly more forward. So you feel a little bit more through the abdominals. That felt quite a bit through the lower back. And then lower back down. And last one, we're going to come up and stay there. Good. From this posture, find strength through the shoulder that you're pressing. So you're going to push into that shoulder. You're going to take the top arm and start sweeping it forward, rotating your torso towards that bottom arm. And then exhale, come back to the starting position. So breathe in, we twist forward slightly. And if you're in the ball, just go as far as you can. It won't be as far as maybe on the OOV. But our goal is to really allow the thoracic spine to rotate over that or closer towards that shoulder. And then coming back. So we're kind of integrating work of the shoulder with thoracic spine. And then coming back. Good. Let's stay in this long line, reaching through the arm. Can we lift that hip up? Excellent. So finding, we're going to hold this for a second. Isometric contraction, the side of the glute med, obliques, shoulder reaching down, nice long neck, kind of check in with everything. That whole lateral line is active. Now we're going to lower the hip down and lift for 5. Down and lift 4. And 3. Good. And up for 2. Down and up. Good. Hold it. Hold it. And then lower everything back down into that sideline position. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to come back up now onto the elbow. So we're kind of on the forearm. The top leg is still nice and long. Now the arm will go onto the hip because I want you to feel if that hip moves back and forth. So we're in this supported plank. We're going to take the bottom leg and lift it up. So if it's at 90 degrees, great. If you feel like it's a little bit lower, it's totally fine. We're just kind of lifting it up through that adductor, through that inner thigh. Now hold it up. This feels pretty good. We're going to start straightening that leg forward and bend the knee back for 5. And straighten, so knee stays off the floor. Adductor is working. And 3. and 2. Last one here. Bring it in, and then let's pulse that inner thigh. Lift and lower for 5. And lift. Great connection from the adductor to the obliques. So again, working through that sling, that stabilizing frontal sling for a side joint. And 4. And 5. And lower back down. Last one into the side bend, and we're gonna transition on the other side. Slowly come up. So using the ball or the OOV, starting on the other side, bringing your hip into the saddle, finding the length, finding the position. And kind of starting with allowing your body to get long, open up through the entire side. Maybe move your hips slightly back where you feel the most length through a T-band, through the lower calf, up into the ribs, into the lat, into that sticky triangle, bringing that shoulder blade away from the ear, and just breathing into the rib cage there. So you're kind of actively finding length. I never have people stretch anymore passively, actually. Just holding position, you know, without any kind of an activation. Just doesn't seem to be effective. So anytime that we stretch, I always want to encourage active reach, be staying active in that posture. Now as you breathe, focus on allowing the ribs to lift. So you're pressing down into the OOV with the ball. Sort of imagining that your ribs act like an accordion in a way. And they open out and then they close back in. For the next breath, we're gonna lift our top arm up. The bottom hand will stay down on the floor. And we're gonna slide up. And then inhale, lengthen away. And again, sliding up, exhale up, inhale down. You might notice a difference side to side. For me, it's definitely harder on this side. So if it's harder, just kind of move a little slower. Give yourself a little more time to get there. 2 more. You might notice that you're doing what I'm doing is bending the elbow, trying to compensate. You want to keep that bottom hand straight. And lower. And last one here, we're gonna lift up, we're gonna stay there. So we're gonna find good postural position. The ribs are still under the ball of the OOV, supported. The top leg is nice and straight, arm is reaching, and the bottom shoulder is pressing through the entire palm into the floor. And we're gonna start rotating towards that hand. Breathe in, and exhale back to the starting position. Now your goal is, as you rotate, is definitely to move the shoulder, but also move your chest. So if your sternum tries to get square to the front of the mat, and then you're turning it back into the sideline. Exhale forward. Inhale back. 2 more. Every class, even though we go through the same postures and similar motions, I want you to have a goal of, if it's hard to move a certain way, to increase the mobility there. If it's hard to hold, to increase the amount of time there. So whatever's hard, stay longer. Seems counterintuitive, right? Let's come back into the good side lying position. Now we're gonna lift that leg up. So the hip is up, the arm is reaching, they're kind of parallel to each other. Now we're gonna lower that leg down and lift it up. Shoulders away, lower, and lift. Excellent. You want to feel good medius here. Kind of check in and lift your ribs. So if you feel like you're sort of sinking into the ooh of the ball, you want to actively be pulling your ribs away. So you're going to feel work through abdominals, through the side, through the front, and lower. Lift and hold. Feeling the whole activation through the side of the body, and then lower all the way down back into the side bend. Take another deep breath in. Allow your ribs to open on that side. The better mobility we have through the rib cage, the better diaphragm work we're allowing ourselves to have, the better breath pattern, the more oxygenation through the body. It just makes everything so much more efficient in life. Now we're going to come up into the supported elbow position. So kind of equal yourself or straighten yourself forward. Top leg is nice and straight. We're going to work through this inner thigh. So first, kind of lift that thigh and let's hold it there. Notice if you shifted your pelvis back to get there. So then bring your pelvis forward and really lift from the inside of that thigh. So think about almost pulling or sucking that hip into the socket, that femur. Probably not a very good visual cue, but that's, you kind of want to think about that femur really being nice and congruent within the joint surface of the pelvis. Once you're there, you feel that inner thigh, we're going to start straightening that leg forward and bending the knee. So here we're actively lengthening the hamstring, lengthening the adductor a little bit, but mostly working through the hamstring as it crosses the knee joint while isometrically holding adductor. Come back in, good. 2 more. Keep the height. Last one. And bring it in. Now we're gonna lift that knee up and lower back down. Just little pulses with the inner thigh. And pulse. Tap the floor and then lift off. And 3, 2, try to go a little bit higher. And lower all the way down. Last breath into the side. Take a breath in. And exhale as you're coming back up. We're going to go into a little bit of upper abdominal series. So for this, if you have the ball, that would actually be great to use the ball. If you don't have the ball, I'm going to show you how to use the OOV. So either way, if it's the OOV or the ball, it's going to go underneath the upper back. If it's the OOV, you're actually going to use this bigger part of the OOV against you. So let's see. So if it's the OOV, you're just going to kind of lean back against it through the upper back. Yep. With the ball, it's the same thing. Just kind of gives you a little bit more better range of motion to move back and forth. So it's right across the bra line, so to speak. Now, either way, the first thing, let's find neutral pelvis here. So this is a really important part, is that you want to have your tailbone heavy. You want to have a little bit of a curve in the lumbar spine. So we're not like kind of already flexed into that half roll back. The pelvis is actually more neutral. Hips are parallel, feet are down. So we're going to focus on the upper thoracic flexion extension. Then we're going to also work on the rotation, but on the neutral spine. So arms go behind the head here, kind of interlaced, and you're just supporting the weight of the head. You want to bring yourself into the chin, tuck into the nice long neck. And then allow yourself to go into that deep extension. With the ball, you'll just be able to go way further into that upper back extension. Let your head go down. With the OOV, you're just going to go as far as you can into that saddle, really. Now, as you exhale, not the chin, bring yourself forward, really pulling ribs down. So this is the upper abdominals, the rectus abdominis. Exhale, we come up. So inhale, go back down. And exhale as you come up. So keep going. We're gonna go for about 10 or so. On the OOV, you won't be able to go maybe as low, but what's nice on the OOV is the feedback of the OOV as you're coming up. You can really feel your back pressing down into it, but it doesn't have as much give as the ball. So you're having to work harder on the way up at the very end range. Most importantly, keeping your tailbone down. Last one. Now let's stay up in the curl. Right arm is going to reach forward, and then we're going to rotate and reach that arm on the outside of the left knee. So the ball is going to kind of help you get there. The tailbone stays, and the knees, the hips do not move. So we're starting to curl into that oblique curl. Try to come up a little bit higher. Really lift off. Make it real hard. Breathe in. We're going to stay onto the side. Exhale as you're going to go back. Inhale, lift. Straighten your arm, twist to that side. And go back. Keep going. We're going for 10. Again, as you're using this with the ball, it's going to help you get there better. And then inhale back into that extension. Exhale up and over. Inhale back down. Probably 2 more left here. Focusing on hips staying leveled. They're not twisting. Pelvis stays heavy. Lumbar spine stays slightly extended, so a little bit neutral. Last one here. We're going to go back into extension and switch to the other side. Inhale, nod the chin. Exhale, lift up. Find that curl, that flexion of the upper spine. And then start reaching your hand to the outside of that knee. Take a second just to find maximum amount of rotation, maximum contraction of obliques, pulling opposite rib to the opposite side of the pelvis, shoulder reaching across, coming up a little bit higher, maybe just a centimeter or so. And then exhale as you lower back down. Arm goes behind your head. And we're going to start moving. Lift up and twist and lower back down. And up and twist. Probably exhale as you lift is easier. Exhale and flexion, inhale and extension. And exhale. Now when you rotate towards that side, if you feel that your hip is moving, whichever side you rotate to, the arm against the outside of that knee, push that knee forward as you rotate towards it. And then go back down. So there is a shift, and that shift usually goes all the way to the lower lumbar spine. You'll notice it here. So when you rotate through the upper chest, your lumbar will also twist, rotate, and that's what we don't want. So you're going to push that knee forward if you need to. Last one. And let's come back all the way. Take a deep breath. Allow kind of everything to extend. Allow your arms to extend. Final extension of the day. And then we're going to slowly come all the way up. And we're going to finish with a little bit of balance in standing. So you have the OOV, use the OOV. If you have a couch pillow, use the couch pillow. Any kind of a foam pad, but something unstable. Today we're going to work on the OOV lengthwise. So we're going to work on this front to back, the sagittal plane challenge. So you're going to maybe sit next to the wall, but you want to stand on top of the OOV here. Kind of one foot and then the other. And just take a second and find your balance. So what I like about this is that it really transfers into gait. Because when we walk, our ability, we're going to start by weight shifting forward and back. When we walk, we have to have our ability to weight shift from the heel to the forefoot independently from the rest of the body. So that's what prevents falls. If we don't have this ankle disassociation feature, because our foot muscles are weak, we're not using intrinsics, that's when the falls happen. So when you walk forward, or if you lean too far back, you just lose that balance because you're not able to bring your ankles back or your feet forward to counter that. So this is a really cool way to work on that mobility and that disassociation. Once this feels pretty easy, let's find a balance in the front. Now we're going to hold the OOV nice and stable. And then I want you to side bend. So allow your body to side bend to one side. Make the opposite heel heavy into the OOV. Come back to the center and then side bend to the other. Making the opposite heel heavy. So when you side bend, you feel kind of the stretch through the opposite side. Let's keep going. Now, when you're side bend, instead of focusing on pulling ribs down towards the side that you're side bending, think about opening up on the opposite side. So your focus is the opening here, and then just let whatever's happening on the compression side happen. But I think when you fascially switch your focus by opening up and over, we can get a little bit more range of motion. Last one, side to side. So up and over through the ribs. Good. Final rep here. Excellent. Now let's go into a knee bend or a squat. Arms will reach forward. And I want you to go as low as you can into the squat. You can go all the way down. Wonderful. That's a goal. If not, that is not the problem here. You're going towards what works well for your body. Also on the OOV, it doesn't allow your body to cheat with the squat. So you have to get into that hip hinge. You have to get your knees over the toes. So it just focuses without any guides or any cues into that really proper squat mechanics that we do hundreds of times in the day. And then coming all the way up. Let's slowly step off. And we are done with the class.